Hi everyone. Thanks for registering with Engage Digital. We look forward to seeing the innovative applications you can build using our platform. You must have received an email from us with your login details and links to several videos and documentations. If not, please contact us immediately. Um, and in this video, I'll provide you details on three things. One, an overview of the platform and its capabilities. Two, a quick walkthrough of our portal and how to create apps using our visual design tool, APIs, SDKs, and our markup language called Engage Markup Language. And three, explain the different developer resources that you can use. Now let's first look at our platform overview. Engage Digital is a programmable cloud communications and digital engagement platform with unique AI-based media analytics capabilities. As you can see in the middle, there are three broader set of capabilities we provide: programmable voice and video communications, conversational AI, and speech analytics. You'll be able to use REST APIs, Android and iOS SDKs, our Engage markup language, and drag and drop visual design tool to create digital experiences between person to application, and application to person, or application to application. You can easily integrate voice and video calling and speech analytics capabilities to your web and mobile apps. With our REST APIs, you can make voice and video calls, get call records, create conference rooms, invite someone to join a conference room, etc. You also perform advanced call controls like transfer call to another party, record and transcribe the call from your application by passing all such call controls as EML parameters in our call API, as well as response to notifications on different call events. For example, you can add one of our play announcements when someone answers a call. We have many such EML verbs which you can use to control the call. Here are some example use cases and call controls that we have. For full list of features, you can refer to our documentation. You can also create custom conversational AI-based voice or video-based interactive virtual assistant applications using our visual design tool. You can enable them on all communication channels: a customer support phone number, a cellular phone number, a website, or a mobile application. You do not need to learn anything about AI and ML or telephony services. And do check out video links of some of the sample apps we have shared with you in the email. We have got a click to call video bot, a real-time language translation app, a call screening app, as well as speech-enabled conversational IVR application. We provided some screenshots here. Hopefully that gives you a fair idea of the apps you can build using our platform. Now I'll provide a walkthrough of the EDP portal. Our portal is hosted at portal.engagedigital.ai. You click on Get Started to log in. You notice here that for signing in, my user ID has a username and then the tenant name. So this is how we can support multi-tenants, and this is how we handle different users of different tenants. How I log in. So you notice on the top right corner of the page, the username and what are the privileges for the user, whether it's an admin or a developer or an associate. Admin has full control. This is the tenant admin. If you are a developer, then you'll be able to create flows, subscribe to phone numbers. For the role of an associate, it's more like a read-only control where you'll be able to execute flows or do demos without having control to subscribe to numbers or create the flows or create applications. Depending on your privileges, you will be able to do different controls in the account. If you navigate to the left pane, you see that for admins, they can do admin services, which allows them to manage, create users, and do some service limits as well. But if you're a developer or associate, you'll most likely be able to just view the keys. Those are the controls that you have. So that's basic platform capabilities for us. And then, being a programmable communication platform, we'll first start with what different features we have. The core features of our platform is programmable voice and programmable video. So what does that mean? That means we can support three different types of programmability through REST APIs and associated SDKs, engage, markup language, and visual tools. So put together, there are ways of doing this programmable voice and video calls. You'll be able to get together all those information about that in this particular dashboard and in these reports. Um, so in the dashboard, you have like a different way to look at the calls that you have received and based on direction, different channels and different applications that we support. And reports is ability to look at the call details. So you can select the time frame and search, and it will provide a list of the entries. Um, so that's kind of the basic dashboard capabilities and reports that we have. So now let's first dive into our REST API. So to access our REST API documentation, you go to the documentation link in our portal, and there are APIs and SDKs, and you go to REST APIs. So you see this API spec. So if you look at the API spec, this kind of summarizes the different capabilities we have. We can make voice or video two-party calls and APIs to get a call record or multiple call records. And then these are all the APIs related to conferencing, more specifically, the rooms for conferencing. So we have a lot of, in our documentation, we provide different use cases and different ways in which the APIs can be used. This could be very helpful here. Uh, and then now going into our REST API documentation page, um, it's an open API specification that you can download and be easily able to consume from one of your favorite tools for application development. So on the left pane, you see the different categories of the APIs that we have and also the mechanisms to use the API. So the authentication section talks about how you can use the API keys. Um, like I was showing there in our portal, the API keys are available here, and you can use that. You can use this API keys to use our APIs, right? And then we'll first start with the two-party call. So we have one API which can be used for both voice or video calls, and it can be used for different types of voice communication, be it landline, mobile, or a WebRTC call. It's just one API. Um, so you see that in one of the examples. So in this example, the from and to are required parameters. The from is a PSTN number. The to can be a PSTN number or a list of uh, PSTN or virtual numbers. We use virtual numbers for talking to our WebRTC clients, and PSTN numbers can be used to talk to mobile or landline clients. The from number should be the number that is hosted uh, on your particular tenant. The tenant account should be owning or subscribe to this number to make this call. So, and then you can make this API to make a call from that number to the other number, right? And that there are various other optional parameters as well, depending on the different applications that you want to do, as well as um, depending on the different events that you want to handle in the call, whether it's during ringing or answered phase. You can handle different events by using the webhooks. So another important capability that I want to highlight in our API, I'll start with an example here. You notice that there is from and to, and then there is this and there is a parameter called EML, which is our markup language. So you notice that this is more like a HTML or a XML document, um, and in which we are using this verb called say this is a demo. So what this means is when this call is when this API is used to make a call from this number to this SIP user, and when the SIP user answers the call, it will play out this particular greeting, which, you know, this text is converted to speech, and that's what the SIP caller who answered will be able to hear. So that's the power we have. So this is a very simple example. We can make we can I mean this EML document could be having different scenarios to handle the call flow, um, and that is very powerful for us, right? So for example, instead of using a API every time to say or play a greeting, this gives a little bit more easier control on the call flow for you. So what is EML? I mean, this is how the EMLs can be used. EMLs are just set of verbs, and this slide shows you the different EML verbs that we support and what it can be used for. For example, gather is used for um, gathering input from the user, either through DTM or for speech, and play is a verb that's allowed to play audio or video clip, and say is a verb that plays text to the user using TTS, and all other different call controls that we have here. Um, so we can use it along with the APIs, or there is a different way to use EML directly when a phone number is dialed without going through an API. So that's the flexibility we have. This EML is a powerhouse which can be used in many different ways to program an application. Um, I'll also show you how this is one example of how EML is used to collect information about a city for a current weather application. It's a very simple example, but more nuanced cases can be constructed here. So from API, we looked into how APIs and EMLs can be combined to do powerful applications, right? So even though it looks like a simple API for two-party control. We are able to do all these different call controls on a particular call by passing EMLs as a parameter in the APIs. So that's kind of the basic structure of our two-party API along with EML. And recently we added support for multi-party conference calls, which is by creating a room. So these are the different APIs that talks about how to create different rooms. And b once a room is created, a user will be able to dial into the room using the room ID, and then they will be able to join the conference call. And we also support capability to invite somebody to join a room as well. So that's the basic API capability we have. And if you go to the portal, if you go to the API, there are tutorials here. So if you go to the tutorial section, yeah. So you see that we provide different examples for different use cases, how we can use the API. And then we also have SDKs. There are two type of SDKs. One is the server SDK. Uh, for all the APIs that we saw now, um, there are SDKs available. Um, and then there's another SDK that we have is a client-side SDK. This is for supporting the WebOdyssey clients that we support in the platform. So we support, I mean, like we have said before, we support different type of communication channels. It can be PSTN, SIP based calls as well as WebOdyssey based calls, right? To enable WebOdyssey, we have WebOdyssey server on our platform, but to access our WebOdyssey platform, the client side needs to follow our protocol, and that's implemented using our client side WebOdyssey toolkit. And it is available for both web as well as iPhone and Android. Different SDKs are available. And this SDK let you do outgoing calls, accept incoming calls, reject calls, mute or unmute, the usual capabilities that are needed in a communication app. So far, we have seen the different programmable voice and video communications using APIs and SDKs, and EML as well. In this section, we'll talk about how to use the different programmable apps we have. By programmable apps, we refer to easily available building blocks that you can use visual tools to build applications. There are two type of programmable apps we can configure through our portal. One is the Engage Video Assistant, which is our bot, and one is the Intelligent IVR, which is the speech-enabled IVR apps that we can create. First, I'll walk through IVR, how to create an IVR app, and how to link it to a phone number, and then how to make a call to test that app. Then we will go through, how to create a bot. I'll walk through an already created bot that should provide you an idea of what to do. So we'll jump into how to create an intelligent IVR app. So in this section, you see dashboard and reports and quick start. The quick start will take you to the steps on how to build an IVR app. So it's explained here, but I'll walk through in this video here. To use our visual design tool, you go to the design time, and then you go to the manage flows under there. This shows some example of an apps that already exist. So most of the apps that's created in our platform, is visible here, and especially created the visual design tool, and rest of the apps created for the board will be visible under the Engage Video Assistant tab. So these are some example flows. You can use this create flow to create a new flow. But for now, I'm going to walk through an already created flow to explain how easy is it to create IVR app. So we'll take this weather service IVR app, and somebody calls in this IVR app, requests the name of the city, and provides a weather for the city. It's a very simple app, just for tutorial purposes. So I go and edit this flow. So you get the sense of different visual widgets we have. So if you go to the widget bar, you have different widgets here, and you can drag and drop them, and then it'll come with the different connectors you can connect to create the flows. That's the basics of it. So in this case, this shows an already existing app. A call comes in, and then a welcome prompt is played, and you gather the user input, in this case, the city name, and then you use the weather API. So, invoking this API, we can provide it through our REST API widget. And then once you obtain the result, you can play out the result using this widget, which will convert text to speech and play it out. It's as simple as that. It's very easy to create an IVR app using speech-enabled conversations in like 100 plus languages. So once you create a flow, then normally the next part is how do you deploy this and use it when somebody dials a number, right? That's the next part. So for that, we go into phone numbers. So you created a flow, and then the flow has a name. For example, you go to the manage flows. The name of the flow is weather service. So you go to phone number. So these are available phone numbers, and you can go and so you can go and search for available phone numbers and subscribe to it. In this case, we have already configured certain numbers for this particular for this particular demo. So in this case, you see that there are various phone numbers that are associated with IVR apps and what's the name of the flow. So the way you do that is by doing configure phone. You select a number, and then you can map it to one of the apps, and then provide the name of the apps. So that's the steps to create and map it to a phone number. So in this case, you notice that uh, let's say the number 900100 is mapped to the weather service app that I showed just now. So if you want to change it, you can go and change it here. So what this means is when somebody calls this number, it will call this weather service, which was created using the visual design tool, and then it'll go and execute the flow. So now I'll provide a demo of how this works by introducing you to one of the demo tools that we have. This is hosted in the public cloud. So you go to rtc.engagedigital.ai. Let me log out and log in for you. So here you can use any username, but this user ID has to be unique. So we recommend you to use your phone number or variations of your phone number to make sure it is unique in the system. So in this case, so I logged into this demo tool. This can be used for making voice or video calls. That's a capability we have, and you can use this for testing your application without actually without actually needing a SIP phone number. So we need to wait for this particular agent to become green. That means it's registered with the system. Now it's ready to make the call. So if you go to the portal, we look at where the weather service is anchored. It's anchored to 900 100. So I copy that and I dial here. I make audio call.
Hello, this is the Engage demo for weather. Please provide the city name after the beep.
Bangalore.
The current weather for Bangalore is partly cloudy, 24.0 degrees Celsius, or 75.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Goodbye.
Yeah, so that's a small demo of our IVR app. So using visual tool is one way to create an app, and other ways to we can visually create using the visual editor itself. We can create a EML app. Uh, so there are two ways to create app. The app can be hosted outside our platform, or uh, it can be created in the platform itself. So you can go to manage EML apps and create an app here. Uh, so you can give a name, description, and then enter the text, the different verbs that I explained so far. This way you can create the app, and then once the app is created, uh, once a EML app is created, then you can go to the phone numbers, and when you try to configure the configured phone numbers, so when you try to configure a phone number here, you can select phone number and then map it to an intelligent IVR app. And here you can select an external EML app or an internal email app, and that based on that you can go and do it here, right? This is how you can use EML app um, associated with our phone number. Now I'll walk through how to create EVA apps, which is Engage Video Assistant, which are video bots. How to create video bot using our platform. So you go into the programmable apps menu, and then you have item for Engage Video Assistant. And here you can create bots visually, video bots or audio bots, and eventually we plan to support chat channel bots as well. Um, so you can go into manage bot models to actually create a bot. So in this case, I'm going to walk through already existing bot so that you understand how easy is it to create. I'm going to go take the example of an insurance bot. So this is a insurance bot, more like a customer service insurance bot, which is going to emulate a customer and request the consumer what type of insurance they are interested in, whether it's auto or home insurance. So in this case, you know, we can create very complex flows for auto for different insurance process. For this tutorial purpose, we'll look at the simplified home insurance case. So let's go here. So in this case, let's say the user is interested in home insurance. Then basically the bot will say, "Are you interested in documentation or claim process?" And depending on the answer from the customer, it goes into the documentation intent or the claim process. Let's say in case of a claim process, let's say the user says they want to file a claim, then it finds out what is the carrier name, um, whether it's Mercury, State Farm, or Sun Life, and accordingly you can transfer to a human agent by doing transfer call. So it's a matter of creating the intents and then using a visual tool to configure those different intents. It's all a visual tool. So what type of intents to create is kind of handled there. We saw there are three intents there. One is interest in home insurance, and interest in auto insurance, and the claim process. So this is, in a way, you are training the bot to learn different variations of the language. Um, so that's how you build the intent. Once the intent is built, then you have a visual tool to kind of work out the flow. And once you create it, um, once this bot is created, you have a bot ID, which is what we saw here. You go to the opening section. So this is the bot ID that is used. So now that the bot is created, we can go into the portal, and you do this configure bot service here. So these are the two bot service we have created. Internally, you'll notice that it's using one of the bots that's created in the bot builder, right? And then there are some other voice and video channel related settings we can do for this bot interaction, and video overlay, which is about text overlay over the video. We can configure the aspects required there as well, right? Once you create the service profile, then you go to phone numbers, and then go to configured phone numbers. Once you subscribe a phone number and you configure a flow, it will show up in this configured phone numbers. Here you can go and configure phone, pick a number, and then select EVA as the application. And then now you'll see the different service profiles that we saw there. Then you can link it to them. And you also need to create a VDT flow internally. So this flow is very easy to create. I'll show you now, because there is a template available for this case, right? So how do we do that? So you go to design time, manage flows. So now you go and create a flow. In this case, let's say it's a new flow. You'll ask for a template that you can use. In this case, we know we are going to use, in this case, we are going to use for a bot. So there is a EVA VDT flow. So you take that. It already comes with the template that you want to use. So, it already has all the basic default values set up for you to connect to a different flow. So you can name this flow as a bot flow, and you can use it as part of the configure phone number widget, right? So let's say you give this bot flow a test flow, and then you save it. And then you'll be able to use it in the phone number when you try to do the configure phone number. um, Here you can map it to a bot flow, and then use the flow that we configured there. And then while testing the bot, now the bot is linked to a phone number. You can use this our web client rtc.engage digital, and make a video call to actually test out the bot. And for you to debug and analyze whether it's working, you can use the dashboard, which is for EVA, as well as the CDR reports generated for EVA. And then, in addition to what is available in this portal, if you go to the bot, let's say in this case we looked at the insurance bot. So here, let's say we are building different intents, and we want to make sure that the bot is working properly. So for that, there is a inbuilt emulator. Someone can go and put a question here, and then it'll give the response. So that's how you can test it out. So another one important aspect here is when you are building a video bot, where do you put the video, right? So whenever we create an intent, or whenever the bot is about to respond for a particular question or a particular intent, then you go and put that video. So in our case, we can handcraft this video. For each question, one can handcraft this video and put this video here. That option works well. So that provides you a good overview of the different ways in which we can build our bot using a visual tool. Now, let me explain the different developer resources that we have. This slide summarizes that. So we have easily navigatable API and SDK documentation. Um, you can go through that in our portal. So if you go to our portal and then click on the documentation, this is the complete documentation available. You can look at the APIs or how to guides for using for creating different apps, programmable voice and video, and the different programmability and other toolkits that we provide. And if you go to the REST APIs, so we have a way to download the Open API spec and then use it like a Swagger a reference for your app creation. So that's about the API documentation we have. And then let's say you are familiar with the documentation now and you want to look at some reference apps. That's very, very simple. For every account that we have created, we are providing some reference apps. So you go to design time, and then go to manage flows. That will provide the list of the different apps that's available for you to try it out. So you should be able to go and figure out these flows are linked to which phone numbers, and then you'll be able to navigate them as well as use them. So by looking at the configured phone numbers, you have an idea of all the apps that are mapped to a particular phone number, and then either use it or browse it to understand how an application works, and then start creating your own apps. Now coming to, let's say that's a sample. About sample apps provide you good reference. Now we have source code in GitHub, and this is the URL for that, RSS EDP. And in different languages, we have different sample apps provided here. React Native, JS, you can go browse these different repositories and get an idea of different configuration files that are needed to create an app. Okay. And then let's say now you are ready to create an app. Like I showed you before, we can go to the portal, and then when you're about to create a flow, let's say go to manage flow and I'm about to create a flow. When I do a new flow, you get these different templates. Either you can do blank, or you can create either apps with different templates, or you can do a EVA flow, call forward scenario, or a multi-party conference flow. It's very simple, very intuitive. You pick a template and then you configure it, and then you'll be able to quickly create your apps. So those are the things. Now you have started creating your apps, and then the next part is you want to do testing, right? So like I explained, we have this rtc.engagedigital.ai, and you can log in using some unique ID, and it gets a SIP address, and you'll be able to use that as a test dialer client. And then so now So a very in-depth video tutorial for how to create a particular app is available in our TADHack portal, which is engagedigital.ai/tadhack22, right? If you still have any questions, please email us or connect us with us on the Slack channel. We wish you all the best for developing the most creative application using our Engage Digital platform. Thanks.